engines. This is the Women's Motorsports Network. From dirt track nights to the bright race lights, from the garage to victory lane. Women are rising, chasing the dream, with horsepower running through their veins. Women's Motorsports Network. Hear those engines roar. Stories of courage, speed, and heart, like you've never heard before. Fuel her future, fuel her dreams. Every lap we celebrate. Women's Motorsports Network. Let's hit the track. Let's hit the track. Women's Motorsports Network. Connecting and celebrating women in motorsports. One story at a time.
This episode is sponsored by Snyder's Lawn Care and Property Maintenance in Kalamazoo, Michigan. If storms leave branches, debris, or damage in your yard, including downed trees, their team offers reliable storm damage cleanup services. Reach out to Bob or Andrew at 269-775-1275, or their website is snyderslawncare.com. That's 269-775-1275. Have you recently hit a pothole? Did you end up with a bent wheel? The tire shop's going to try to sell you a new one, but you don't need to drop hundreds of dollars. Call Mark at A Cut Above Welding in Kalamazoo. He'll repair the wheel, sand it, paint it, and have it looking like new for a fraction of the cost. With over 50 years of welding and fabricating experience, A Cut Above Welding gets it done right and fast. Call Mark at 269-760-1109. That's 269-760-1109. A Cut Above Welding. No job too small, just big results.
Start your engines. This is the Women's Motorsports Network. From dirt track nights to the bright race lights, from the garage to victory lane. Women are rising, chasing the dream, with horsepower running through their veins. Women's Motorsports Network. Hear those engines roar. Stories of courage, speed, and heart, like you've never heard before. Fuel her future, fuel her dreams. Every lap we celebrate. Women's Motorsports Network. Let's hit the track. Let's hit the track. Women's Motorsports Network. Connecting and celebrating women in motorsports. One story at a time.
This episode is sponsored by Snyder's Lawn Care and Property Maintenance in Kalamazoo, Michigan. If storms leave branches, debris, or damage in your yard, including downed trees, their team offers reliable storm damage cleanup services. Reach out to Bob or Andrew at 269-775-1275, or their website is snyderslawncare.com. That's 269-775-1275. Have you recently hit a pothole? Did you end up with a bent wheel? The tire shop's going to try to sell you a new one, but you don't need to drop hundreds of dollars. Call Mark at A Cut Above Welding in Kalamazoo. He'll repair the wheel, sand it, paint it, and have it looking like new for a fraction of the cost. With over 50 years of welding and fabricating experience, A Cut Above Welding gets it done right and fast. Call Mark at 269-760-1109. That's 269-760-1109. A Cut Above Welding. No job too small, just big results. Hello, everyone. This is Melinda Russell with the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. And my guest today is Gina Schild-Knowles. And Gina, I want to welcome you to the show. I'm happy to have you on today. And so first of all, would you share a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. A little bit about myself. I basically work in racing. I'm 55 years old. I've been in it my entire life, really. And I'm currently in Hendersonville, North Carolina, and I'm from Texas.
Okay. All right. And do you have any pets or
No,
family or anybody that shares the love of racing with you?
basically everyone in my family loves racing. It's a love-hate relationship for some, you know,
Yeah.
and yeah, all my family is really home in Texas. I have a racing family here, of course, that I've developed, and I do have pets, but they're all home.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So Gina, your family's involved, loves racing. How did you really get started to where you knew that you loved racing?
Well, I was born into it, really. My grandfathers raced, both of them raced. At Playland Park in Houston, and my other grandfather, my mom's dad, was a factory driver for Indian Motorcycle and ran flat tracks, Daytona. And so I really just was born into it and grew up in it. My dad raced, my uncle raced, my brothers, all of them. I mean, every male in my family just about was a race car driver. So we were at the racetrack a significant amount of time. I have been at a racetrack a significant portion of my life.
Yeah. Sounds
Mhm.
like it. So, what did you first do to know that you wanted to have a life in motorsports? How did you personally get started?
You know, I was always at the track. I saw many cars being built from the frame and got to watch it race because it was built by my grandpa or my dad or whatever. But I didn't really realize that how much racing meant to me until I went away from it. I went to school and came back, and like when I was at the racetrack, I realized, man, I really like this. My brother won a big race in Texas in like the late 90s. And I told my dad, I said, why don't you try to get him into like a truck ride or something like that? My dad said, come on now. And so it just kind of hit me that you have to find the money. I mean, I always knew it. Racing costs money. It has financially impacted every household I've ever been in. Racing has. So I understood it. But I really kind of jumped in not knowing the rules, just selling my brother, selling sponsorship and finding sponsors. And I kind of liked it. I enjoyed the challenge. I enjoyed doing it. And my understanding of racing, I realized what had a value. Never understood what it meant to me until I really kind of started aggressively pursuing trying to get my brother into a truck ride.
Yeah. And so, as a person who probably had never done any kind of sponsorship work, how did you go about like tackling that? I mean, were you the one that kind of helped him get the sponsorship?
Yes, I had been in sales professionally, been a sales position, and then I'd always been at the racetrack and done little things like, "Hey, can you bring your brother's car here and do an appearance?" And helping people like that, logical things. And it just kind of was a natural thing. It was a very natural thing selling racing because of how I understood it and how I understood what you need to make work. And it just, like I said, it was natural. I just kind of naturally went in it and stayed in it. And it just kind of led to this job and this led to this. And before I knew it, I was, running a racetrack, leasing a racetrack and running a show. So, I had my
Yeah.
family, of course, help me do it.
And so, where was that? Where was that track?
That was in Houston. My dad raced at a track called Myers Speedway, and he had a wonderful promoter at that track. And I think looking back, even though I was very young, looking back at how fun those races were and being run by a successful promoter. I mean, he was a promoter that got Terry Labonte where he was because my dad raced against Terry Labonte. My dad drove for AJ Foyt for many years. Um, and so I think I learned it in a fun way. And as I got older, I would hear stories that I remember watching. And so it kind of, I don't know, it just fed everything I did. But it was all based in Houston, Texas at Myers Speedway. My grandpa ran at Playland Park. But that's kind of where it all really was rooted from, is Myers Speedway.
So, when you found yourself running a racetrack, um, did somebody ask you? Did they see that you had a talent for that? How did you land that role actually? Because you weren't probably looking for it.
No, I was not. I had always helped racetracks or racers with sponsors. After I stopped with my brother, I had a business. I was a wedding photographer for 15 years, and on non-wedding weekends, I would help at the racetrack. But they'd always call me, and inevitably someone would call me and say, "Hey, can you come help us find a sponsor?" A friend of mine, David Starr, he races. He called me and said, "Look, there's a potential sponsor, Advanced Auto Parts. They want to sponsor Houston, and there's not really anyone that can help deliver what you need to deliver. You understand it, and will you call them?" And I called them, and so I was working with the promoter at Houston Motorsports Park and Advanced Auto Parts, and he got ill, and he did pass away, and I kind of stepped away from it because he was a good friend, and it wasn't doing well, and it's the last asphalt track in Texas, and it wasn't healthy. And so someone came to me and said, "Look, would you consider coming back in and running it?" And I was like, wow, I was clueless. So we did. The alternative was it was going to close. And a lot of people in Texas would have a garage full of equipment that was a quarter of the value because the closest track was 500 miles away. And not all classes ran there. So we just jumped in. And, your knowledge of racing and your understanding of how racing is for a racer, the finances, the struggle and everything. I just ran a track the way that I would want it to be run if I was a racer coming to it. And I already knew a lot of people in the industry. They all knew that my family was from racing and rooted in racing. So it was a positive movement. They cut us some slack and we pulled it together. Now it went well, and then COVID hit. Literally started this 6 months into the 2019 season. And then COVID in 2020. And I sanctioned in 2020, and NASCAR sanctioned the track. I did research because it was important to me to put the track on the map because it was in Houston, or it's in Houston, Texas,
Right.
So sanctioned it, and then COVID. So we learned things really fast. We had to do a whole lot with very little. And we went through the COVID thing and then everything that followed it. So I really think that we were on like high speed learning. You had to learn. You didn't have a choice but to push forward. And I wasn't about to quit. It was like we were too far in to quit. So we just kept going, kept going, kept going. And we had great friends help us. I had my son, my husband, everybody. It was a team effort. It was interesting and stressful.
I was just going to say it was interesting and exciting and stressful. Yeah,
right.
For sure.
I think I pulled my family into it. I know I took them, and then we leased Mobile International Speedway and ran both tracks. And it just, you trip and stumble your way through it, and racing is just a part of my family's life. And I don't know. It just drives me. I enjoy it. I very much enjoy being at the racetrack. I really do.
Yeah, there's no other place like it, that's for sure. And once you start making those relationships and those people become family, it's the only place you want to be,
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. So you conned your family into helping you. So how many years did you run that track?
Let's see. We did Mobile 3 years, in Houston, I think 3, 4, something like that. When I got Mobile, I lost my sponsor for the Houston track, and Mobile stayed. So I dropped to Mobile and ran Mobile for a while. And Mobile was not really up and running. COVID, with COVID, it had closed. So we kind of had to open it up and kind of reconnect. And I had to learn the community, learn the racers. And I was able to pull racers from Texas because it was about a 6-hour drive, and get them to race with us too. So it was a really good, I think of it fondly. It was super, super stressful. But it still meant a lot. We had a good time. We really did. Looking back,
now that you can put the stressful things behind you,
definitely.
You can look back and Did you ever have a day? I'm sure you did. Did you ever have a day that you got up and you just thought, I can't do this? And if so, what pushed you through?
Yes, many times I did, but it seems like anytime I have days like that, and you get them where things are just hitting you, and with racing, it's always heavy and it's always a punch, a super hard punch, and you really have to process it. But I always get something immediately following, because I always question, why am I still doing this? I'm probably going to have to get out of it. I just can't take it. And something comes my way, whether it's a racer calls me and thanks me for what I've done, or it's just something positive comes at me. And so I tell myself, until that's not happening, I'll keep doing it. I mean, I'm 55, and every single time that something has come my way and someone's appreciated or called me and told me a story about what happened to them because of what I helped them do. So that drives me. That really does. And race days definitely fill my bank back up.
Yeah, it
And remind me,
definitely does.
right.
Seeing all the people who show up who wouldn't have a place to go if it wasn't for that track just fills your heart, and then it gives you the energy to keep going, doesn't it?
Right. Definitely. That's what drove me initially, is I didn't want the track to close. I mean, it was our home track, and to have one asphalt racetrack, one in a whole state as big as Texas, it really weighed heavily on me, because my son raced there too. And I can't imagine, I mean, he didn't race at the time, but all I could think about was when he was in high school and racing, if the track had closed, how crushing that would have been to him, and everything you have and everything you're trying to do, that truly did make me jump in with zero fear. I mean, I really did. So it meant a lot it's still racing today. And so is Mobile. And that means a lot to me, because Mobile was closed, and the fact that they're both running and thriving, I like it. There was a class in Texas that was pretty much dying on the vine, and it was the Allison Legacy class. And it was because we were so far away from North Carolina, it was hard for them to get parts. So it was kind of going away. So when I went to Mobile, I brought them to Mobile, and that class just took off at Mobile. I love that fact. I love the fact that now they race at Houston, Mobile, Five Flags. They just raced at Freedom Factory last weekend. I love the fact that I had a part in that. That is the reward, that you look back and go, wow, that's pretty cool that they're racing. When I see it pop up and they're racing somewhere, it warms my heart.
It's kind of a legacy that you're leaving behind.
It's goofy, because you feel like you're cheating a little bit when because you get the reward and you get the credit for a lot of things that it took a team to do. And so sometimes I think, I didn't do that. But my brother always says that I have a bad habit of not stopping to smell the roses. He said, you've got to stop and look at this. He said, none of this would be here if you didn't keep doing what you're doing. And it's hard to remind yourself of that. Sometimes you really do have to remind yourself of that. But I can't take all the credit, of course, because we had friends and family and team members that racing means a lot to, that work for very little, and because they love the sport. People's love for sport drives them. For this sport drives them, literally.
Yeah, I think it does too, and sometimes more so than other sports. When you take a really close look at other, baseball, football, basketball, all the other like big sports, their racing's just different.
It is.
The fact that you go somewhere every weekend and you race the same people, and you're competitive on the track, and then if somebody needs something, you're the first one there to help them, even though they're your biggest competitor. And you don't see that as much, or at least we don't hear about it as much in other sports. And so racing's just special. And if it's hard to explain that to people, because they don't really understand that you can be competitive, and then as soon as you get off the track, somebody's broken and everybody's over there helping. And so
yes, it's definitely a different relationship sport wise.
Yeah, for sure. So what are you up to now, Gina?
I
Take me
work at
from running the tracks to today. What have you been doing?
I work at Hickory Motor Speedway. In between Mobile, I was working for a GM performance dealer out of Mississippi, selling engines and performance parts, racing engines and performance parts. I worked at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. I kind of hopped around a little bit, and wherever I would land, I would still kind of be selling the engines and parts, but also helping the racetrack and the team at the racetrack to just kind of tweak things. I don't know. I have a knack of coming into a racetrack and seeing what's going on and where it might need a little bit of love, where you need to touch
Mhm.
it, because that's really kind of what makes a racetrack work. And if you have one like a GM can't do it by themselves, and you have to kind of learn the team and maybe show them a different, you have a fresh set of eyes coming in. You can
Yeah.
kind of see maybe where they need a little bit of tweaking. And that's how I landed at Hickory. Is it kind of had a rough couple of years and needed a little bit of loving. And that's what I do. I kind of always just say I kind of give its shine back. I try to polish it back up and
I like
reintroduce
that.
it to people. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So, we hear a lot about Hickory. If you're involved in motorsports at all, I believe the Cars Tour runs there. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am. The Cars Tour runs here. The Pass series from up north, the Mayberries run it. They run here. We've got ASA running here. Come here on May 21st. We have, let's see, ASA Cars Tour. We had the Smart Mods come. It's a great track that has some really big shows, and then it has strong local racing. To be perfectly honest, it has some of the best racing I've ever seen. This track really produces great racing. You can take a class of like 8 cars on another track would not be a great show, but Hickory just it's phenomenal in that department and
Yeah.
producing good shows.
That's fun, isn't it? To know that no matter how many show up, it's going to be a fun night.
It is, and it has
Yeah.
been. I have
Yeah.
very much enjoyed the racing this year.
Yeah, that's good.
Uh,
So tell me, what's your daily routine look like working at Hickory?
Well, I've got a long drive, so I go to the track, usually kind of look at my schedule, do a lot of social media. That kind of needed more attention than anything because everybody had a role and had regular jobs, and the social media is a monster. It's really a lot to manage. So
Can
I
be,
grabbed a
yeah.
hold of that. Yes, and I grabbed a hold of that and had to change it. So I do that daily, come up with posts and develop different things for the track. Race scheduling. I get the race schedule and plug in what I have. I work with a group of students at Belmont University in the motorsports program. So I went and touched on them and got them coming to the racetrack because I did that at Mobile with UNOH, not Mobile, sorry, Nashville with UNOH. I just kind of implement things based off of the needs. At Hickory, he's got a very expensive lease, so there's not a whole lot to work with monetarily. So interns, I wanted to go establish an intern program, and that's what I did. So killing two birds with one stone. You have labor, and you're also educating the future of the sport and how
Mhm.
it works. And I like that part because I like to share the workings of it because I know when I started and tripped and stumbled my way through it, I didn't know a lot, and I had to work for a lot of people I wouldn't have wanted to work for and learn things the
Mhm.
hard way. So I want to educate them on the good, bad, and ugly of it. So, but that's part of what I do daily is working with the students, going out, talking to sponsors, connecting with the community. I go to a lot of chamber meetings. I go to a lot of sports meetings. Just plugging back in any way I can and getting people to come to the track that normally wouldn't come, or come back to the track.
That's the key right there.
Yeah. It
We
just had been
know,
out of the community for a bit, and it's
yeah,
Hickory. It's been there forever. It's
right.
a huge part of that community, and it just had been neglected in a way to in the community involvement, and that's really kind of what I'm doing because that helps your back gate, your front gate. When you get fans and you're showing the track some love and it's growing, it helps racers see that they get on board, and then you get more racers coming to work
Right.
for you. I mean, let's face it, racers like to show off. And
Mm-hmm.
the more people that you have in the stands, that is a positive impact on getting them to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So before I forget about it, we'll go back to that, but I wanted to ask you about Nashville. So
Mhm.
Nashville's kind of in the news as far as, you know, I know there's a soccer stadium next door, and they're,
Yeah.
wanting to get the Cup Series back there and all that. What's your perspective on, will Nashville ever hold a Cup race?
I really, it's it's a very political environment there. I do know this, the Cars Tour race recently was a great
Mhm.
success. And
Yeah.
that track needed that desperately because it showed what it could do.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, politicians and where that track is, when they evaluate it, they look at it on paper. And on
Yeah.
paper, it does not have a great representation. It's not a
No.
positive thing on paper. So that
Mm-mm.
race, that Cars Tour race on paper will help that because it'll show what it can do. It might
Right.
not be doing it regularly, but it can do that. And Nashville is a city that has everything available to it. There's so much there
Yeah.
that to have a racetrack, and not only do you have a half mile, but you have the quarter mile too. It's two
Hmm.
racetracks in one. That is what Nashville needs. I mean, it
Right.
needs to keep a racetrack. And
Uh-huh.
like I said, I think that the power that race brought, the numbers that it has on paper, and then the looks of it and how everyone came out, it was that helped it. And I do hope that helps keep it there because that is such a special racetrack. It really
Yeah.
is. In my day, and it was where the North met the South and the East met the West. When you wanted to measure up, because my parents took my brother there in a late model, when you wanted to see where you stacked up, that's where you would go and
Hmm.
see where you might be your local track, you know, uh, winner, but you go there and you might not be. So
Right.
that
Little
history,
reality check.
definitely, I think definitely, and that's kind of what the politicians wouldn't understand. They don't know how important that track has been historically in racing. Cup wise, a cup race or anything like that, the logistics would be very hard there. They would be
Hmm.
because of the high rise. You have a high rise
Yeah.
just right out the back door of the concourse there, and then right on the other side of the high rise is the stadium. But you could do it. You would just have to have bring your A game, and be on
Yeah.
top of that parking part. I think that personally, I think a truck race would be fantastic, and
I
I think
agree.
bigger, series races would be fantastic too.
Yeah.
I don't honestly, I don't think it needs, the other two series. Put a truck race there. Why
Yeah.
why can't the track just do that? And I
Yeah.
understand the concern of the surrounding neighborhood people and the traffic, but it's not like you're doing it every single day. And
No.
and it would just be something that might be an inconvenience for like 2 or 3 days, but it's investing in your community. It's putting money in your community, employing people, you know, it's providing a whole lot. I mean,
Well, and
they
they're
yeah.
really, unless it's the Chicago street race, which I don't even think, I'd much rather go to Nashville and enjoy racing and all the stuff around it. There's
Yeah.
just so much there to do, and I can't understand as an outsider looking in why the city doesn't push a little harder to keep that track and to work something out, because hotels, food, in entertainment, all of that. You know that when we go somewhere for a race weekend, we want to do something at night or whatever to have some fun, right? And
Yep.
that's one of the few towns that the racetrack is really close enough that you can just combine everything. And so,
You can. And
yeah,
and and most recently that the car store, they were able to
they
do that.
did.
The thing about it is that's where the political side of this comes in.
Hmm.
And when someone with a lot of money doesn't want the track to thrive
Yeah,
and can throw money to, put some doubt in whether the
yeah,
place will work or not, then that's
yeah,
going to happen. And
right.
you can throw out all the negatives with that money, and it makes those negatives stick. And I think that the person with the money that doesn't want it to work is using his weight to lobby against it, which is how politics work. At the
Right.
same time, the powers that be in the city don't have the, I don't know, for the lack of a better word, balls to stand up against them and voice their opinion. So they
Yeah.
don't pick a side,
Right.
and so this thing is drawn out. And they say little sound bites of positive that makes this group happy and a sound bite that makes that group happy. Let's make some decisions here. Let's look at what just happened and let's move forward. And it's everybody dragging their feet because nobody wants to be the bad guy to the guy with money.
Right.
That's it. And again, on paper is how it's going to be evaluated. And it was really, really in trouble. The Cars Tour helped that. Now it has a fighting chance.
Right. And there's other series, like those series you mentioned, that come to your track. There's bigger series that would love to run there, and it wouldn't be an every weekend thing,
Right.
And so there has to be a way to keep it, but everybody has to be involved in working together, and that's the problem, right?
Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
And you get one big voice with the racers, and I think that helped. The Cars Tour helped it. You have, Junior, Dylan Jr. helping. His voice is pretty powerful. But that Cars Tour race definitely helped it. They have a fantastic team there. I worked there and I just loved everybody there. The racers were great, and they all love the place. And it has a lot of people supporting it. It's got a Hall of Fame group that look out for it. You have a couple of people one person in particular saved it from the first attempt at its demise. And that brought that bought it extra life. And it's just about keeping it going. And honestly, setting the right expectation of its capabilities. Because politicians and the people who are involved really don't understand racing. And it's a dynamic that you can't apply normal rules to.
Nope.
Your normal marketing rules don't work the same in racing. Your normal way to make it profitable that does not work in racing.
Nope.
You have to really have people that know racing involved so it's successful. That's something that is still a struggle to this day on almost everything in racing.
Yeah, that's true.
That do stuff and they think, oh, I can do racing, and it's just a little bit different.
Yeah. So have you ever driven a car or had the itch to race yourself?
Oh, heck yes, I did. But see, if I raced, it would take money away from my brothers, or my brother racing. So I knew that. Or if I drove his car, what if I wrecked it, or did anything? So I shook down his go-karts. He karted for a long time. We traveled with that. And I think I shook his car down one time, but I know I would have been good. And I know I broke my brother's tails, but oh well. My dad told me one day, he said, I should have put you in a car. I said, you sure should have, because we'd be living in North Carolina racing regularly. But no, I don't know. It's just an instinct that I love it. And but I didn't want to take away from our program. There just wasn't enough money.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially if, it's one thing to keep one car on the track or one person on the track, much less two or three. And it's just hard. It's a shame that it's such an expensive sport because
it's very expensive.
Yeah.
Well, when I was younger, I'm 10 years older than my first brother. So my dad was racing and he wasn't ready to give it up, and he was racing, and then my brother came into it. So I just didn't have a shot at it, but I knew what my role was immediately. And that was help one brother in particular get to another level. I always felt that was where I belonged.
Well, that's good because you felt that was your part of the team.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So what's a good night at the racetrack? When you go to the racetrack and everything happens and you're headed home and you say, was that a good night or a bad night? What makes a good night at the racetrack?
A good night at the racetrack would be good racing and a good crowd. for me, and because it always is a positive impact. I mean, I have a long drive back from the racetrack. I love that feeling of you're exhausted after a race night. You're exhausted, you're tired, but you're still high from the adrenaline of the race because it was good racing, positive people stop me in the grandstands and thank me and all that. That just kind of feeds it all. You know you're doing something right. And running a racetrack is very hard. There's a lot to it. You have a lot of challenges. You have to do things unexpectedly. You have to be prepared for just about any scenario. And like when I have my students, the college students that come, I like to see them and talk to them after the race. I like the kids that I see and talk to about the race, the fans. It all just, that's a good race night, I think.
Okay.
It's
the people.
all of that.
It's the people.
100%.
Yeah.
Because you just put a show on for them. You know, you put it together and you see that they had a great time. And the racers, you come into you know, I mean, it's not all kumbaya, but it is all still positive because it's all part of how racing works.
Right. So let's talk about the sponsorship part just for a little bit before I let you go, because I promise usually around 30 minutes, but this is so interesting that I don't want to let you go yet. Okay. So you've done a lot with partnerships for racetracks. What do you think's the biggest mistake that a racer makes when he's trying to talk to a sponsor or trying to find a sponsor?
Putting the focus on the logo that goes on the race car. That is the gravy of the deal. That's the simple thing. And that's what everybody focuses on. I will say this, younger racers, and I mean 18 and under, need to be taught to ask for money, because when they are younger, that is a perfect opportunity to develop strong relationships with sponsors to take them with you as you progress into this sport. And it's very hard, and I tell kids this all the time, it's very hard to tell a kid no that has a passion as deeply as racing runs. And I tell them all the time, don't be afraid. The worst they can say is no. And for every 10 no's you get, you're going to get one yes. And then when you get it, you put them on your race car, but you invite them to the races. You go to them and tell them Monday morning what happened, give them a report. There's so much more you need to do. And you need to start when you're young. If you have someone finding sponsors for you and you're not participating in it and you're under 18, you're doing yourself an injustice. You will always need money to race. Always. Learn how to ask for it. And then learn how to keep that sponsor with you and grow. You have to find out, and this is crazy, but you have to find out what their cheese is. And what I mean by that is, what is it that motivates them? And once you find that out, then you want to keep them with you and grow them. But ask for it. Asking for it is the hardest thing for racers to do. That should not be. That should be the most natural thing for them.
Especially as a kid, because as a kid, first of all, you said just exactly right. It's hard to say no to a kid. And I interview a lot of girls under 18. And sometimes the younger they are, the bigger list of sponsors they have. And I'll ask them, well, how did you get so many people to sponsor your car? My mom drove me there, or I get my hair done there, or I do this. That's my dentist. That's whatever. And so they overcome that fear, I guess. Yeah. Yes. Or they here's the thing, they haven't developed a fear of asking. It's just, that's true. It's just natural. And so as they get older, those sponsors might stay with them, which is a great thing, or they might need some new ones, but they know the process and they've already been told no however many times. And so that's nothing new, and they can get past that. And so I love that you said that, because I just think the younger they are, the better. And you can, as a parent, you can teach them at home what to say, how to act, and all those things. And that's not just for racing, Gina, that's for life. Exactly. How to talk to an adult, how to treat people, how to say thank you, show gratitude. Those are all life lessons that you learn through racing. And another thing I love asking, sometimes a little bit older gal that I would interview is, what what has racing taught you as far as life lessons? And a lot of times it'll be confidence and things that, I just see it. Young gals that race tend to be way more mature and able to talk on a podcast to excuse me, to an adult or whatever, than kids who don't.
I
Because
think
think about
that's
it.
the female part of it, truly.
Yes, true.
You have to, as a woman in this industry, you have to, first of all, have a very thick skin, but you have to apply yourself harder and consistently than any man, because it's harder for you to get noticed. So yes, I would think that the younger women would learn faster than anyone, than the males, which is a good thing, and it kind of sucks too. But
Yeah.
you're kind of forced to learn fast. I will say this, back to the youngsters, whether male or female, you need to practice in the mirror. Look at and go in the bathroom and talk to yourself and talk about yourself and get comfortable talking about yourself. It's very hard to talk about yourself, but when you're a race car driver, you have no choice but to do it. And believe it or not, when you do it in a mirror, a lot of times, do it in the car, do whatever, you get comfortable with it and it becomes more natural, because that is very important too. Not only in asking for money, but being able to communicate well and to articulate well in this. And I always tell racers, in fact, I told one Saturday night, get in the mirror, talk to yourself, talk about yourself, you can laugh and it feels so dumb, but you'll be ahead of everyone in your racing area, or that you're competing with. It'll put you ahead of them. Put yourself in the top 5% is what you have to do as a racer.
So how do you think being in motorsports has strengthened you or made you who you are today?
It's funny, at this age, I was pretty aggressive when I was younger, but I didn't know as much. I was still learning, but I was still very aggressive. Now it's like I feel like I've validated my experience. When I give an opinion, it's based on experience, actual experience and knowledge and understanding of the sport. It's still really hard. It's still real hard to be taken seriously as a female, because now when I go to a racetrack, I'm probably like the oldest one or have more experience than everyone there because of how long I've been around the sport. And that's kind of I didn't come to that realization until like the past couple of years, when I realized, how old I am and how long I've been doing things. And I kind of wear that as a badge of honor now, where before I would let it be taken away from me when someone would give me their opinion, or, I'd be telling a guy about something that happened and they kind of make a joke out of it. And I would shrug it off, but I don't let them get away with that as much anymore, because I have an opinion and it's based on experience. Right. And when we're a team and I'm giving, a recommendation, I want it considered because I come from the industry and it's experience. I find that when you bring an opinion or something to the table with someone else in the industry, you come up with something even better with their input. A lot of times in this industry, there's a lot of males that don't even consider what you're saying. You're kind of you're kind of put off, and they'll call around for other opinions. I worked for a promoter and in my past that was not a good promoter of the sport. If you don't promote the sport first, you're doing yourself an injustice as a promoter, because whatever move you make has to be based on the good of the sport and that it helps the sport thrive. And I worked for one that did not look at it that way. Excuse me. It was a business, and I get it. You have to run it as a business too. But if the choices you make are draining and you're draining the sport and you're not giving back to it, then I will not work for someone like that. I cannot. It's not a good look, and it's there's no value there. I feel like everyone who loves racing and who is in racing should give back somehow. If you're a racer and you run a local show, and they already give, they say, oh, I pay at the gate and I pay to this, and I'm not even making enough to cover my racing. I get all that. But you know what? Put your driver's suit on and walk to the grandstands to get your hot dog. You know, don't go to the concession stand in the pits. Put your driving suit on and walk up those grandstands and get a hot dog. If that's all you're giving back, that's giving back, because you just don't know what you're going to do. All of us have to give back somehow to the sport to keep it in balance, because this sport takes a lot out of everybody that's involved in it. And if nobody gives back, then it's doesn't balance out, and it won't last. It'll, your track will close, or your class will die out, or whatever it may be. You'll burn out. But we all have a responsibility to somehow give back. Do an appearance with your car. Tell your neighbor who's lived next to you for 20 years, hey man, I race here at this racetrack. Come see me. Talk about the racetrack. You've got to do that. We all have to do that. It's so important.
So Gina, my last question for you is, if everything goes right the way you want it to, what's the next chapter of your life look like? What are your goals? What do you want to see yourself doing now? I just turned 70, so you're just a young pup to me. So what do you want to do the next few years as far as racing? What's your dream job? What are your goals?
Job. That's kind of it makes me vulnerable. My dream job.
Yeah.
I'm kind of afraid to say it, but I love running racetracks. I love being at a track and running it. I absolutely love, especially tracks like Hickory and Mobile or Nashville. They have souls. But truly, and this is going to sound crazy, I can't believe I'm going to say it. My dream job would be to work for NASCAR's short track program, because I feel like I disagree with how they sell it to the tracks. And I know it's because they're spread thin. They don't really just focus on their short track program. I think they have to encompass a lot more to it. But I would love to be on that team and be a part of the decisions and explain the racing short track side of it, because how they try to grow it is not the correct way to make it strong. And this is my opinion. And I'm not saying anyone that works there is bad or whatever, but I've been a part of it since I sanctioned Houston and I understood how things work. But that short track program is very, very important. And NASCAR, I don't think they realize how they have it structured and set up is very smart. And whoever did that years ago, because they've tweaked it along the way, it will strengthen short track racing.
Oh,
the
for
more
sure.
tracks that sanction, that points fund, the investment that the track has to make is significant, but the value is there, double the value you get back for what your investment is. But they don't educate the tracks on all the different classes. They kind of let the tracks decide how to sanction. And I get that the track should decide, but if you have a track an hour from you that's sanctioned, you need to work together and sanction the divisions together. And then if you get another track an hour away, that's how you produce champions. That's how you grow the sport, because it keeps the competition healthy. But that, I would love to be a part of NASCAR's short track program. I have no desire to be at any other part of NASCAR. I love NASCAR. I love the trucks. Trucks really is my
favorite.
All-time favorite. Always has been, because that's where I was trying to get my brother into years ago, when you had Sprague and Setzer and all them were the hot dogs in. It was fantastic racing, and in my opinion, still great racing. I love it. But I would love to be a part of that short track program. I'd love
so Gina, we've put it out into the atmosphere.
Now you have all the ones in the office there hating me already.
Now you've said it out loud, and so no, I don't think so. I think NASCAR is really trying to get back to its roots right now. I think the things that went on with the, they got pretty exposed.
Yes, they did.
And so I think, it's time that they gave back.
I think so too.
And
I
so it's time that they look to see where is the strength of NASCAR. It's in the short tracks. It's in the grassroots racing.
It's where it started from.
If that dies,
it's always been there. It's always
right.
been there.
If that dies, where are we going to get our next crop of really good racers?
Yep.
You know, I'm a huge fan of Carson Hocevar. He's from my local town. I've known him since he was little and raced quarter midgets. I was I still am a huge Kyle Busch fan. I love Denny Hamlin. I mean, there's just a whole group of them. Eric Jones is from Berlin, Michigan. I could go on. But without racing, if Eric Jones hadn't raced at Berlin, if Carson hadn't raced at Kalamazoo, and he raced at Berlin, and he raced, quarter midgets all over the country. He was a national champion over and over. If we didn't have those guys as feeders up into NASCAR, who knows what it would be like. Yep. And we need to find a way to get the best drivers into the sport, regardless of how much money they bring. Yep. And, I just heard, I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I just heard him talk about, what other sport bases who is on their team by how much money they can bring. Football doesn't do that. My son-in-law is a baseball pitching coach. They don't do that.
Nope.
Tark Skubal is one of my son-in-law's good friends. He's the number one pitcher for the Detroit Tigers. But it's not because he brought millions of dollars of sponsorship with him.
Yep.
It's because he's the best at what he does.
Yep.
NASCAR racing, the higher levels of racing have gotten so far away from that
car racing.
Yeah. And not to say that the guys that are racing aren't good. They wouldn't be capable of competing every week if they weren't good. But are they the very best of everybody that's out there? I don't think so. I think there are some of the best, and I think there's some that are probably waiting for an opportunity, and it may never come. And that's the sad thing for me.
Yes, it is sad. And to be honest with you, the short track program, the points fund that NASCAR has set up, if they would invest in selling it to the tracks, going around, visiting the tracks and evaluating and looking at how can we take a map of the United States? Where are all of our short tracks? How can we get this going and focus on growing it that way? I don't understand why they don't, because it's such a great points fund, and it creates champions. If you look at your schedule, like right now, Bowman Gray pretty much produces the champions because they race so much and they can earn points faster, and you'd have to race at multiple tracks to get the championship. But if NASCAR focused on the tracks that it structures and sets up and puts them locally, and then you tell the tracks, look, we need to evaluate all your classes and how we're going to structure it, Division I, Division II, Division III. Because if you have one track that has Division I as late models, and then the track 30 minutes up the road has the Division I as modifieds, you're not going to produce a champion. And it kind of defeats the purpose. I understand it serves the purpose of that short track, but if you explain it to them that it's going to grow their car counts and strengthen their racing, I think they would reevaluate it.
I do too.
And it's not something that is, I'm not trying to say everyone's doing it wrong, but it just needs a little tweaking and focus. I don't think anyone at NASCAR goes, man, we need to look at this short track program and really dive into it, because it would build short tracks back up. It would build it would strengthen short track racing. It would help the short tracks that are struggling. And because as you have all these parents out there of kids that they're running legends programs and they're traveling and doing whatever, they don't know what the next phase is. And you know what they do? Okay, let's go, man, maybe we should run for a championship in the Cars Tour. Maybe we should run for a championship here. Maybe we should do this. Instead of, we need to run for a championship at our local track because it's NASCAR sanctioned. That's the mentality we need to get back to, because going and running for all these big series is big, big money. And it just makes the odds of making it even harder. But if they say, you know what, we can go here and run these two racetracks and go for a championship, a national or regional or whatever it may be, that's a huge
Yeah.
kudos. We need to get back to that. That's what we're going to do. We're going to run for like what Josh Berry did. You know, he
Right.
won, and because that was right when I sanctioned and I had to understand it. And I learned this because I had Advanced Auto Parts as a sponsor at Houston Motor Speedway, or Houston Motorsports Park, sorry. And when I decided to sanction, I went to my sponsor, Advance, and I explained to him that what I was doing, and it was an investment. What did he think? And he said, I think it would be a very good idea. And so I did. Like a month later, Advanced Auto Parts became the title sponsor of the short track program. You had the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series. He knew that they were doing that, and I didn't know it. And that's why he said, I think it would be a very good idea. So I learned a lot about it. And like I signed up, I didn't know how it worked. I get a package and I had all my signs printed and everything. And like right before my season started, I get all these signs. They send you as part of your package. They send you these signs. Well, that could have saved me probably $5,000. I didn't
Right.
know that. So I was kind of upset with them about, hey, educate, work with me. I'm a newbie
Yeah.
here. You know, I spent a lot of money, you know, help me out here. I didn't know how to leverage things. I didn't know what I got. I didn't really understand things fully. And as I started understanding them, and I would always call my Advanced Auto Parts contact, who I was fortunate enough, he was very high up in the company. And he was a significant part of the weekly series stuff. He would help me along. And so anytime like NASCAR, I wasn't their favorite because I could call their boss, so to speak. But like back then, the live stream thing was kind of a new thing. So when I got sanctioned, they said, okay, here's how the live stream works. And you have to have this and you have to have that. And it was like a $10,000 additional investment in the equipment they were requiring me to have. And I was like, how do you expect these short track people to do this? You know, I said, I can't afford to do it. Well, you kind of have to. So I called Advanced Auto Parts and said, look, you're not going to grow more tracks because of these restraints. I said, they kind of need to lighten up and understand that $10,000 more dollars. And so he would call and kind of he would say a recommendation. We would find a different way and a happy medium. So I might not have been NASCAR's favorite, but it ultimately helped them, you know.
Well, it's not about being their favorite. It's about helping do what you see as progress to make that better. You know, I was just thinking when you were talking, I don't know how it's been, maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago. You remember when they had the hashtag grassroots racing?
Yes.
What happened to that? Because they were showcasing different short tracks and different things. And if I'm a woman that's sitting, you know, watching NASCAR, and I don't realize that the Cars Tour is going to be at Berlin, let's say, you know, because I don't keep track of Berlin. It's a little over an hour away. I don't ever go to Berlin, is my thought. I just watch NASCAR on TV. Well, if they start talking about Berlin and what's going to be there, it makes me more interested in maybe going to the track and seeing those people.
Yep, very true.
Or, you know, my home track is Kalamazoo Speedway. It's less than 30 minutes, 20 minutes from me.
Right.
You know, there's people in Kalamazoo I know that have no idea about the racetrack or what a great value it is for your family and how much fun it can be for your kids and stuff. And so, you know, but if they saw hashtag grassroots racing on a NASCAR race and they were highlighting Kalamazoo Speedway.
Right.
Okay. That costs them nothing. It's airtime.
Right. And I think that having a rep more and working with you, and again, I think their short track reps are spread thin. I think they also have to focus on bigger stuff and other than short track. I think that's very much needed, that relationship and that working with them, because they understand short track racing. And sometimes the track owners might not fully understand it from a regional or a national level. I know they don't, because of how I can pull up a map and and look at how tracks are sanctioned, and nobody explained them to them, because I can see who their Division I is, and sometimes they
Right.
don't know. I mean, and maybe they don't have a late model class, and they can't make a late model class Division I or whatever, but it still needs to be a close relationship. Their short track program should have, the reps should have very close relationships, and always be in touch with them.
I
Our
agree.
NASCAR short track rep recently visited Hickory. I kind of walked out and he was walking in, and there's logo changes because O'Reilly's is now the sponsor of the short track program, and he was saying, we were talking about branding. How are we branding? And I walked him around. I said, look, see this sign, this big sign, and you have the little O'Reilly sticker we put on it. And I said, this can be replaced. You want us to brand you better, you've got to send us. Maybe you can help afford to do this. And they did. They replaced our signs, they send you good banners. So it's about that, coming to the track and what are the needs of this racetrack. They're all going to be different. They're all going to, if a rep walked around and saw that maybe they could use a coat of paint on something, use that budget. I'll send you the paint. We'll repaint this, or your victory lane kind of needs. Do little things like that. And all these series that travel to the tracks can do the same thing. Leave a track better than when you left it. Do something different. How can we come in and help you? Because you just never know what that track needs. That might not be a big ticket item that you could help with, and it would make your show better too.
Well, and wouldn't be big ticket for O'Reilly's or NASCAR, but it would be a huge ticket for Galesburg Speedway. That's right down the road from me. So
definitely.
Yeah. Gina, you definitely need to get somebody's ear and get on that committee, because I think you would be a huge help and benefit to being on some of that, and about promoting them and sharing and growing it. It's all about growing the sport. And so this has been a lot of fun to talk to you today.
Anytime I talk about racing, I love it.
Me too. Me too. I love it.
It's like too much.
No, it's not too much. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you really wanted to share that I didn't ask you about?
No, not really. The youth part is really big. As a female, I would like to tell the other younger females to just keep digging. It is hard. It is. You do get muzzled. You do get muffled. Being how much I understand racing and coming from it, I find that I know a lot more than a lot of the men I work with, and I will outwork them. That's for sure, and that intimidates them. And so I would have to package up what I have to say and present it differently, so I didn't intimidate someone or rub them the wrong way. It's a pain in the butt to do it, but I find that it's a must. But now that I'm older, I'm a little more aggressive in how I present something to get my point across. But, you don't want to become a whiner, so you always have that in the back of your head that, I'm just whining, or, I don't want, as a female. Man, if you know something and you know it and you understand it, you need to put it out there. You need to communicate an understanding of it. And you have to do it in a way that's professional always. But I'm kind of relentless. I'll wear people down. I'm the squeaky wheel. The squeaky wheel gets the grease 150%. Exactly. I don't have any fear when I present something. I always present it as my opinion, because I want their opinion, because like I said, usually you come up with an even better way to do something. When you find people that work together to come up with something, it is a beautiful thing. Yeah. Really it is. And I know that I've worked at a lot of different racetracks. I've worked with a lot of different teams, and it gives you an insight of really good things that you can do when you put your ideas with someone else. And it's not about you being in charge. It's not about being your idea. It's not, because in racing, there's not one thing that is done alone. Nothing.
It's true.
And so you always have to be open to that, because the best, most successful projects I've ever been a part of came from multiple people's input. I mean, male and female, multiple people's input. But I definitely would like to tell the women, don't waste your time where Nobody's listening to you. Don't waste your time. There's no growth there. You can work to prove yourself till your palms are bloody and your feet ache. Don't waste your time. I wasted a lot of time with a lot of people that use my love for racing to benefit them. I won't do it anymore. And it's a complete and utter waste of time. And all you're doing is helping them get ahead. And one more thing I want to leave with is I'm going to tell the racers, stop racing for crappy promoters. Stop racing for promoters that are not good for this sport, because just by complaining about them and going and racing with them, you're keeping them in business.
Right.
Let race for the people or the tracks or the series that earn your business. Let them earn your business. If racers would do that, racing would be in a healthier place. Yeah. But racers keep showing up because they love racing for promoters that are not good for this sport. Because the promoters that aren't good for this sport are not good for the tracks. They're not good for the racers. It's not good for the fans. Racers hold the cards. If everybody's complaining about a track or a promoter or whatever, stop racing for them. Period. Let them hurt a little bit so they can change what it is they're doing wrong for the sport. That really is a pet peeve of mine.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Gina, this has been a real pleasure today to talk to you. We've covered a lot of different subjects, and I know it's going to be a popular listen because this has been really, really interesting. So thanks for being on. I really appreciate it. And any last words at all that you want to share?
No, I think I probably said it all, didn't I?
That's good. I'm glad
to hear anyone else, but no, I appreciate taking the time to do this. I really do. It was fun.
It was fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Start your engines. This is the Women's Motor Fun Network. From dirt track nights to the bright race lights, from the garage to victory lane, women are rising, chasing the dream, with horsepower running through their veins. Women's Motorsports Network, hear those engines roar. Stories of courage, speed, and heart like you never heard before. Fuel her future, fuel her dreams. Every lap we celebrate. Women's Motorsports Network. Let's hit the track. Women's Motorsports Network. Connecting and celebrating women in motorsports. One story